Welcome back to another episode of Basic Baking on the Scran Line. I'm Nick. Today I am going to take you through how to prepare your baking tins and baking trays before you bake. I know this is a bit of an odd one to make a video about, but I've actually developed a style or some tips and tricks to prepare different types of baking trays and baking tins, and I wanted to share those with you guys today. So if this is something that you're interested in, then I hope you enjoy the video. If you don't think you're going to enjoy it, just watch it anyway and see. So obviously you're going to need some baking trays and you're going to need some baking paper. Now there are different ways to make cakes and different shapes and sizes. I'm going to be showing you, well, the first one I'm going to be showing you is how to prepare a baking tray. Now this technique is great for cakes, but I mostly prepare this for macarons. So sometimes I use silicone baking mats, but if you don't have those, then this is how you want to prepare your baking trays. You don't want to just scrunch some baking paper on the sides and kind of scrunch it on the sides, because you want a completely perfectly flat surface for your macarons to bake. So what I do is I cut out a large piece of baking paper, roughly around the same length as your baking tray. Pop your baking tray on top. Today I'm going to be using a pen, just a regular pen, to trace around my baking tray just with the pen. It feels a little bit like kindergarten. And then you're going to use scissors to cut on the inside of that line, so that way you don't have any of the pen marks on your beautiful baking paper and you don't contaminate your macarons or your cake. So if you are making macarons, what you can do is get a little bit of that batter on your finger and then dab it on each corner of the baking tray to help stick your baking paper on top, and that way it doesn't fly around in the oven when you're baking. So that is how you prepare baking trays. Last year I made a cactus cake and you guys absolutely loved it, and I had so much fun making it. You can check out how to make the video up there if you want to learn how to make it. But for that cake I used a half sphere baking tin. Now you can grab these online. The one that I have is a Wilton brand one, and I've got two different sizes, a 6-inch one and then I've got an 8-inch one as well. So today we're going to be using the 8-inch one, and I'm going to show you how to line a half sphere, a curved baking tin. So it's actually much easier than you think. What you're going to do is you're going to cut out a square piece of baking paper, and then you're going to place a large dinner plate on top and trace around it with a pen. Just a regular pen. Some people might be like, you probably should be using a food safe pen, Nick, but we're actually going to be cutting the pen off the paper, so it's not going to end up on the cake. And then what you're going to do is fold your piece of baking paper in half. Then you want to fold it over again in half and fold it another 2 times. What you're going to do is you're going to snip a little bit of the end off. You want to end up with a piece of, like a triangle piece that's about 3 or 4 inches long, and then you're going to cut a wedge in between that triangle about 1 inch away from the bottom. Then you're going to unravel it and you're going to have this weird folded star-shaped piece of baking paper. Now cutting those strips allows you to have curved pieces of baking paper without crumpling it. So you're going to spray your baking tin with oil spray. You're going to pop that baking paper on the inside. It's going to prevent your cake from sticking, and it's going to help that baking paper stay put and stuck to the baking tin, so that when you pour your batter in, it actually stays put. Now with curved cake tins, what you want to do is you want to sit them on a smaller cake tin or a metal ring, and then pop them onto a baking tray, and then that's how you're going to bake them, because otherwise you're going to have like a lopsided cake, and you want to make sure that it bakes nice and evenly straight on top. So let's say you're going to make brownies or you're going to make a slice. Well, you're usually going to be using a square baking tin for that. And it's really, really easy to prepare or line that with baking paper. What you're going to do is you're going to cut out a long rectangle shaped baking paper piece, fold that over where you've made the mark, and just cut it off with some scissors. So that way when you pop it into your baking tin, it actually doesn't crumple on the sides. So you've got that done, and the reason why you want it to be longer is so that you have some of it kind of going off on the edges, and that makes it easier to lift out your slices once they've finished chilling or baking. If you want to be extra like I am and just extra prepared, you can do the other side as well. Most of the time we're using round cake tins for our cakes, and those are really easy to prepare. So you want to cut out a long piece of baking paper if you're preparing more than one baking tin. And most of the time we are making more than one cake. So you want to cut out that long piece and then fold it over 3 times if you've got 3 baking tins. You're going to place one of the baking tins on top, trace around it with a pen, and then you are going to take the baking tin off and you're going to cut on the inside of that circle, so that way you don't have any pen marks on your baking paper. Then you are going to spray the bottom of your baking tin with oil spray and the sides, and you're going to pop that piece of round baking paper in there. Now, you don't actually need to line the sides of round baking tins because it's actually harder to get rid of the bottom of a cake if it's stuck to a baking tin than it is the sides. With the sides, you can just gently run a knife around the sides and loosen it that way, but you want to make sure that the bottom is lined so that your cakes come out easily. Now, the last one is springform pan. So when you're making a cheesecake or you're just making a cake and you're using a springform pan, there's a way to line the bottom, and it's really, really easy. So you don't actually need to cut out a round piece of baking paper like I am, but I'm a perfectionist and I like cutting it out. So same deal as your round cake tins, you want to do that with your springform pan. Then you are going to dismantle your springform pan, so loosen it and take the ring off. You're going to pop the baking paper on top of the bottom of the springform pan and then place the ring back on top and tighten it up, and that'll ensure that taking your cake or whatever it is you're making in your springform pan out and making sure the bottom is not stuck is easy. So that's how you prepare a springform pan. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I know it's a bit of an odd one, but I felt like this was something that I wanted to share, and I would enjoy a video like this, so I wanted to make it for you guys. Now, if you're enjoying this basic baking series, I've created a playlist for you guys to watch with all of the videos that are up so far. We're about halfway into the series, and there's loads of really cool videos coming up, like how to prepare cakes, chocolate, red velvet, and vanilla. And then I've got a whole bunch of stuff planned for macarons. So get ready for that, but watch the stuff that I have uploaded so far. There's lots of really cool stuff like how to make frosting and cupcakes that I think you guys will enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all on the next episode of Basic Baking on the Scran Line. Bye!